Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the next session of the Know Your Purpose program. And so in this session, we're going to be going through bringing everything together. So we've done a lot of different exercises, think about our why. We've been introduced to the framework. So now it's all about bringing it all together, so it all kind of makes sense and is cohesive. So here's what we're going to cover: understanding work, the Khalifa hierarchy, mission, Ummah, Spark, Labour, and Monetize. So this is the framework that we introduced. We're going to go through each of those things individually so you can start doing this stuff for yourself, inshallah. So let's go through it. So understanding work. So I want to start off with this quote from Muhammad Assad in The Road to Mecca. He says, "To most people in the West, their everyday life is a heavy load from which only Sundays can release them. Sunday is no longer a day of rest, but has become an escape into the unreal, a deceptive forgetfulness behind which doubly heavy and threatening the weekday lurks. To the Arabs, or Muslims, on the other hand, Friday did not seem to be an opportunity to forget their workdays. Not that the fruits of life fell easily and without effort into the laps of these people, but simply because their labours, even the heaviest, did not seem to conflict with their personal desires. Routine for the sake of routine was absent. Instead, there was an inner contact between a working man and his work, and so respite became necessary only if one got tired. Such a consonance between man and his work must have been envisaged by Islam as the natural state of affairs, and therefore no obligatory rest had been prescribed for Friday." So I love this quote. This is really, really interesting because bit of a backstory. So Muhammad Asad was born a Jew, Austro-Hungarian, and he went on on his travels and obviously became Muslim, and he went on a road to Mecca as a book. So yeah, so this is like his autobiography, but it's also like a travelogue. And what he was just obviously talking about what he noticed. And so obviously the Christians, they have Sunday as their day of rest. The Sabbath is the day off for the Jews. But he noticed that Muslims don't have Friday is not kind of ordained as a day of rest. You know, you go to Jummah, but you can go back to work, or you can spend time with family, or so. But he was noticing that their relationship with work is not like it is in the West. In the West, we need our weekend. We get the Sunday night blues or the Monday morning blues. We and a lot of it is because we kind of dread it. It's not really what we want to be doing. We know we have to make a living. Whereas Muslims seem to be at peace with the work that they do. And so yeah, so that's it just shows what work kind of should be like. So I'm just getting clear. So this quote by Muhammad Asad is worth pondering upon. In it, we can see what our work is supposed to feel like when it's purpose driven and aligned to who and what we do. But because we live in the West, we can sometimes share that disdain for work and we can't wait to escape. So today, that's what today's all about. We're going to figure out what work you're going to do, inshallah. So what are we trying to achieve here? So life is obviously our energy. Work is the energy usage we don't enjoy, so it depletes our energy. Play is energy usage that you enjoy because it regenerates us. So what we're trying to do essentially, we're trying to realign our play as our work. So our life is actually enjoyable, regenerative energy in pursuit of service to God. That's ultimately, if you ask me in a nutshell, what we're trying to do. That's exactly it. So we're going to design it in a way that money is a byproduct. And so we have full alignment, and we have full alignment, we're on fitrah, we're on flow. So last session, we introduced you to the Muslim model. Today, we're actually going to go through it and fill out all the segments. The key difference here between some of the models that we previously did, Ikigai, Hedgehog, etc., it's got God, it's got Allah at the center of it. It's designed so it perfectly suits everything you've learned up to now. Now you can plug all your data and your learnings about yourself directly into this model, and it should provide you with the clarity that you're looking for. So you might have a rough idea by now. With this framework, we should already have some answers based on the worksheets and exercises you've already done. But today we're going to complete the full picture. Don't worry if it's not 100%. If it's 8, 9, or 10, it's workable. We'll be figuring out and finalizing what is your overall mission, what people are you here to serve, what is your divine spark, what are all the types of ways you can achieve the mission. Finally, how can you monetize all of this? So I hope you're excited. So this is an interesting quote. It is far better to perform one's natural prescribed duty, though tinged with faults, than to perform another's prescribed duty, though perfectly. So that's from the Bhagavad Gita. So again, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out what work you were made for, what you're created for. So what are the benefits of doing the right work? So there's a study done recently in the past few years of 5,000 American and 2,000 British men that found that the most important factor that makes men happy is being satisfied in their work, which is 3 times more important than the next most important factor, which is health. And after that was income. And that makes a lot of sense because obviously we spend so much of our time working. So this research was led by John Barry, who's a University College London psychologist, and he was also the co-founder of the male psychology section of the British Psychological Society. This study also worked backwards, offering an insight into what factors actually predicted job satisfaction, and in turn, what men were doing to make those factors more likely. So specifically, it wasn't money, it was the sense that men had about whether they thought they made an impact on their employer's ultimate success, and whether the men feel that they're using their own unique talents at work. That was, the things I was looking at. So because this is something that we all share, we all want to make a contribution in our own unique way. So some key caveats before we begin. So first thing to note, you may have discovered from your answers to the exercise and worksheets that your purpose may not necessarily be anything paid or that you can easily monetize. For example, you might have learned that the thing you most want to do is to raise amazing believers and devote your focus towards your children. MashaAllah, that's absolutely fine. That's valid. So don't get stumped by the whole monetized part of it. What this means essentially is how will you be able to live by your purpose going forward? Another caveat here is that this model does not mean you need to set up your own organization or business from scratch. If that's what the data is uncovered, then great. But you don't have to make the change on day one. You can work towards it as an eventuality. It could be that you get experience, you volunteer first, and then you work for someone else, and then you eventually work towards it, if that's the case. What we're getting to the bottom of here is the different ways we can now align ourselves to what the data we've extracted from within is telling us. So again, one method could be join others doing what you want to do, and that could be something that just satisfies, what you were created for. So how do you do this effectively? Basically, we want to do it in the same way as you did the Hedgehog and Ikigai models from the previous sessions. So first of all, just brainstorm, write everything that comes to mind in each segment. Start broad. Then we can begin to narrow it down to find the golden thread, the one that truly resonates with you and represents you to the fullest. As we go into it, we factor in the one before. You start at mission and then you go clockwise. Okay, so we're going to get started on it very soon, but for that, a last lot of reminders. The Khalifa hierarchy. So someone who's rational works for his permanent abode, not for the stages of his journey. So this is from a book called Infamous of the Soul and Their Treatment by Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami. So obviously this is what we're trying to do. This is doing work in the dunya that's actually for the deen. So it's like that perfect hybrid. So the Khalifa hierarchy. So we mentioned Abraham Maslow as a famous hierarchy of needs before, right? So this is the one that identifies the different stages of needs that dictate an individual's behavior. So you can see at the bottom we have physiological needs and then we have safety. So you can't even concentrate on safety if your basic physiological needs are not met, like food and water, all the way up until self-actualization. So once you've got safety, you've got love and belonging, you've got team and confidence, then people focus on self-actualization. But before we do the work of this framework, so I want to keep it in mind, our overall objective is to find what will allow us to fulfill our divine duty, i.e., to become Allah's Khalifa and implement the created system on earth. Whatever we choose can go some way towards this overall objective, but there's also a hierarchy when it comes to this. Let's look at this now. Remember, this is what we covered very early on. Our divine duty is to establish order and implement the created system on earth. Like that's our macro. To be Allah's Khalifa on this earth, which means they worship their Lord, fulfill their God-given mission, they benefit and serve His creation so that they maximize their infinite potential. Why? Because that is what God truly loves. So, how do you do this? So this is what it looks like in terms of in order. So the first stage of this is we're worshiping our Lord, right? So submission, worship Him and Him alone. This is the foundation. So no point you thinking about, oh yeah, I want to do mission-led stuff or purpose-led stuff if you're not doing the foundations, right? So worship your Lord is your foundation. This is the thing that's going to give you discipline and focus and all of these things, right? It's going to build the character. Next, the next level up is to benefit and serve His creation. So you might not be doing purpose-led things, but this is where your interaction with your fellow man, your being kind, being caring, being of service, having a really good conduct, akhlaq, etc. This is where this is the next level up. So you might be doing your foundational worship, and then the next level up is to be good to creation in general. So then we go to fulfilling your God-given mission. So this is where you're actively working and striving for His cause in your unique way using your God-given gifts, right? So this is kind of the work that we're going to be covering in this session with this model, right? And then once you're doing that, you'll be able to be that person that maximizes potential and become who God loves. So the more you are aligned with your mission and you strive, struggle, and sacrifice for it, the more you'll grow and reach your huge potential. And so you can see on the left-hand side here, we've got this private and public. So at the lower rungs of this model, this is, you can worship privately. People don't really know what you're all about, and you can do this privately. And then when you start benefiting and serving, obviously it's getting a bit more public in terms of you helping others. When you then start working towards your mission, that might get even more public, and then you becoming someone who's maximizing your potential, like your public identity almost embodies this Khalifa essentially. So this is as you go up this hierarchy, it doesn't necessarily become as private anymore. This is more, it becomes you become more sort of a public, it becomes your public persona in that sense. So yeah, so that's kind of how this works. So we just keep this in the back of your mind as we're going through this, because we're growing as we're going through this program at different levels. So now we're going to try and figure out our God-given mission, inshallah. So obviously we did the work of HverZthiOg and Ikigai in the previous sessions, and so a reminder is that our version of this is, what's our mission, or what does God want from you? Who are the people you serve, Ummah? What is your divine spark? So that means what you're uniquely encoded for and super passionate about. What kind of work will you do? Which is the labor, and how can you earn through your work, which is the monetized part. So this is how the Muslim model actually works. So we're going to start here. Mission. Why do you think God placed you on this earth? Given your life so far, what are you best placed to do as a service to strive in His cause? And how we do this, we need to define our mission or a cause or why. Right, then once we've done that, we move over to this section. Okay, great. Ummah. Which people or group are you here to serve, and who do you most want to help? So this is where you identify the people that you want to serve in the cause that you defined. So you take into account this, and then okay, now to achieve that, who do you really want to help? Which group of people, and what problem do they actually have that you're going to help with? Cool. So then once you've figured that out, then you go into this section. Okay, what is your divine spark? And so now you just input your spark. Okay, so now you should be clear on what that is from the work that we've already done. So you input your spark. So now taking into account these three things, what is your labor? Meaning, what work will you be undertaking to help the people you're serving to solve their problem? So, what you can do now is brainstorm all the different work you could do that would fulfill your mission, serve your people, and be aligned with your spark. Right? So, so that's what we do. And then the fifth stage of this is now what are all the ways you can earn a living through your labor? So finally, pick one of the labor that you most want to do, and then brainstorm all the different ways you can make money out of that one thing. All right. So we're getting each um, circle is stacking on the previous one. That's how we're doing it. Um, the one uh, suggestion I have just to make this easier is um, you can do this in multiple layers. So the first time you do it, you can just brainstorm, be very open and loose. You just do the mission, and then who are the people that you want to serve. You can just brainstorm a few, and then like uh, what's your spark? You can put the few ideas down, and then all the different ways you can achieve the overall mission, and then all the different ways you can monetize it, and then as you go do it a second time, you can then refine picking only one of the things that most resonates, etc. But we're going to go through this now in a bit more detail. So let's go into mission. We have one life; it will soon pass. What we do for God is all that will last. So this is all mission centric. So this is Muhammad Ali who did that. So mission. Let's go into it. So what does God want from you? Why did He put you on this earth? What is your service? Allah wants us to strive for Him. So, a few examples. O you who believe, be mindful of God, seek ways to come closer to Him, and strive for His cause so you may prosper. That's from Surah 5. Strive hard for Allah as it is due. Strive again. That's in chapter, Surah 22. And did you think you'd enter the garden without Allah first proving which of you would struggle for His cause and remain steadfast? So you can see constant, and there's plenty more where that came from. But striving for His cause, striving for His cause, these are all things that Allah wants from us. So what is your cause for His sake? Remember our divine duty, which I've reminded you of, which is to fulfill our God-given mission and to benefit and serve His creation. So think about your why. That's probably the best pointer towards what your overall mission is. Then we will drill deeper down into this later when we discuss vision and how to execute it effectively in phase 4. But for now, the mission represents your cause, your why. So think about what the world needs when you need Ikigai. Now think about the causes you're passionate about, and then review some of your answers to some of the exercises. For example, what would you change about the world? What are the things that you care most about? What cause could you dedicate your life to, and it would excite you and not feel like a life wasted? Remember, this mission will have in mind all of the gifts Allah has given you, so you can be confident it's in the right ballpark regarding what Allah actually made you for. We'll be bringing it together later. First step is just to brainstorm right now all the things this could be for you. So we've done a lot of the work on this already, so I won't go too deep on this. So Muhammad Ali, for example, my main fight is for freedom and equality. I'm not fighting for one man. I'm not fighting one man. I'm fighting for a lot of men. My mission is to bring freedom to 30 million black people. So it's amazing. You can see his work was a sportsman. He was a boxer, right? But his mission was so much bigger. Influence. And like I said, he was one of the first black people to break the mainstream in terms of become a public persona that everyone loved. And they saw him. They didn't see necessarily a black person. So it just shows the the cause that he had was so much more than I want to be the best sportsman ever. Ummah. So Ummah obviously means community. Who is your community? So Noah Rafi Khan, he said, your goal in life is to find out the people who need you the most, to find the business that needs you the most, to find the project and the art that needs you the most. There's something out there just for you. So this is the second stage. Ummah. So we've established that we're here to serve. Great. But who exactly are we here to serve? So let's start getting a bit more specific now. So the obvious answer most people say would be, oh, I want to serve everyone. Or they would say, oh, I want to serve all Muslims. So this is way, 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 way too generic. Many people want to serve everyone, but this causes failure because when you target everyone, you target no one. Because Imagine um, a Muslim in South Africa and a Muslim in Malaysia and a Muslim in Brazil and a Muslim in the UK. Now, and they're all of different ages, and they're all of different genders. They've all got different problems, right? So how do you serve all of them in one go? So we need to become much more specific, niche down. So imagine if you said, okay, I want to help people with their career advancement. Random example. So this would cause challenges because there's so many different careers, there's so many different industries, right? There's so much. So some are simple, some are quite complexity. But now compare this to focus on, like I gave an example because of my background, lawyers. Like, that'd be easier. You think, okay, I'm going to help lawyers advance in their career. Imagine you niche down a stage even further. So not just lawyers, graduate lawyers. I only want to help graduate lawyers. They specifically need what's called a training contract. So with that, could you really help them? Well, yes, because you will figure out the exact process you need to get them from just graduated to their first training contract. So it's a silly example, but you get the idea that the more you niche down, the more specific you get on your people, you can figure out their exact problem. And when you have specific, I say the word, when it's specific, the solution also is equally specific. Or you can figure out a process to then actually help them, as opposed to, oh, I want to help lawyers do well in their role. Okay, that's crazy. It's quite a generic statement. How do you define well? What does success look like? And success looks like different things for different people. A a partner, success for them might be, oh, I want to hire the best lawyers at my firm. I want to get more clients. Or a success for a person with 10 years experience might be, I want to become a partner. So you can see that even just at the with this like, silly example, um, you know, getting them their solution is difficult. So this is why it's important to be specific in who we're trying to serve. So when you're thinking about your ummah, who do you really, really, really want to help more than anyone? Imagine you could only serve one group of people forever. Who would they be? Narrow it down. If women, what age range? What demographic? This will help when you help trying to figure out what the problems actually are that you can help them with. In Ikigai, we had what the world needs. Well, who is your world? What problems do they have? It doesn't have to be the world at large, and honestly, it could be as simple as your own children or your own wider family, but the most important thing is to be specific. When we get crystal clear about who we are serving, then we can really, really get to know them, their problems, where they're hanging out, what makes them happy, what makes them tick. And once we understand them, we can figure out what we can do to really add true value to them and their lives using our own gifts. A little hack here, a little tip. Sometimes what people find easy to do, not easy, but who they want to do is who they were, but 2 years ago. Because you've gone through a stage of growth. So what does the you of 2 years ago, what support do they need? That might be a way of kind of thinking about it, but that's just an example. You might have, because of the exercises, because of the work we're doing, you might be very clear in your mind. This is who you want to help. So that's what. But this is all vital. So knowing the people you serve is not enough. You need to figure out what problems of theirs you want to solve. So Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he says, we're not competitor obsessed, we're customer obsessed. We start with what the customer needs and then we work backwards. And you will need to do that. You will need to do that for your people, for your ummah. So your ummah can change and expand over time as your mission grows. But you have to start small and get traction on that before it expands. Otherwise, it seems overwhelming. Imagine if I said, okay, I want to have a second golden age, Muslims, which I am. But now imagine I want to help all Muslims anywhere grow. It's like, okay, how do I do it? Like, what I need to do? I need to think, okay, I want to help a certain group first and help them with one thing. I want to help them with finding their purpose. Okay, if I can get enough people to do that, it hits a tipping point, then what I can do is I can now expand this purpose thing to a bigger group of people. Or I can choose, okay, that same group of people that I'm helping, what else can I then give them? I can give them another thing to take them to the even next level. So you can see how this stuff works going forward. Um, so yeah. So what this model shows you how this works as a business principle. So you might have a certain amount of people that fit within your ummah that you've chosen. But right now your project is only covering a certain percentage of it. So focus on serving your current market extremely well first, and then you can make a more and more impact across your entire target market. If it grows, then there's an opportunity, there's a bigger, wider potential market out there if it all goes well. So hopefully that makes sense. So you might start off just with this small market. The entire your entire market is this part here, and if that grows well, this is where it can actually you can even expand even further. But like I said, don't to start off with only focus on this small piece here. Okay, another thing that might help you in your thinking is especially in relation to yourself in terms of who you are, your temperament, all that stuff. Are you global or local? For example, some people prefer the face-to-face approach of service in their own community. So they are energized and fulfilled by hands-on work in their family, community, or society in person. And then some people, what they want is wider impact, a project that spans territories that can have an impact beyond their own postcode or town, right? But one thing to remember, whichever one you choose, and there's no right or wrong answer, there's always a trade-off to be made. If you prefer to go global, chances are you won't really be known in your community, or you won't have the time to dedicate to local projects. So that's me, for example. Like in my own city, I'm a ghost basically. Like, no one really knows me. That I don't really get involved in certain things, but it's because I'm like so busy with trying to do the work I'm doing for beyond my own city. But if you're very hands-on in the community, often that's at the expense of you becoming wider known. So I've got like there's some local imams, for example, doing amazing work. They're fully dedicated to serving their community, their congregation, but nobody knows them outside of Nottingham. So that's the thing to think about. There's no right or wrong answer. Either of them work in terms of choosing your ummah. And this is more about yourself. If you're introverted or a certain temperament, you may prefer one or the other. So this frame of reference will help you decide what type of impact you want to make, first of all, and secondly, who your chosen people will be. And obviously the worksheet will help you figure out this further. Spark. So this is the third part of it. So remember, your divine spark is the culmination of what you're uniquely encoded for, so what you're good at, your natural ability, intelligences, experiences, etc., and what you're hugely passionate about. So it combines both aspects of what you're good at and what you're passionate about in Ikigai. So in Ikigai, we had those two sections. This combines both of those into one. So you should know this by now, as a whole phase two essentially was centered around you discovering this for yourself. If it's not fully finalized, you can do more brainstorming and fill out the Venn diagram here. And there's another way of looking at this to work out what's called your zone of genius. Remember, this is what will allow you to feel joy, feel satisfied, and allow you to experience growth quickly. So this is the Venn diagram. So I showed this in the worksheet in number 15, I think. Um, and in terms of the zone of genius stuff, so this is another way of thinking about it. I don't want to actually introduce a new concept, but it just helps you to understand what we're trying to aim for when we talk, what we're thinking about when we talk about Spark. So what we have is something that you're really good at, high competency and high passion. And so if you're low competency and low passion, obviously it's incompetent. That's not a thing that you're good at all. You don't really care about it. If you're something that you're not that passionate about, but you're really good at it, that's a zone of excellence, right? Anything outside of that is just a zone of neutrality. You don't really care about it. You're okay at, you're average at it, etc. Up here, high passion, high competency is what's called your zone of genius, and this is how you define it. What work do you love? Do you so love doing that it doesn't even seem like work, right? What aspects of your work generate the highest ratio of positive results compared to time spent? Like you're so good at it, it just barakas in there, it's huge ROI, all that stuff, right? Because and how that differentiates from your zone of excellence. What do you consistently get positive feedback about in your work and life? What do you do better than just about anyone else? So you might be really good at something, but there's work that you're good at and you love doing. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. So hopefully that explains the spark aspect a little bit further. Labor. Al-Ghazali reported, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "Let not one of you refrain from working for his provision, supplicating to Allah to provide while he knows that the sky does not rain gold and silver." So this is the fourth element. Now, obviously, this is an interesting one. It's worth exploring. This is the work, right? So this is labor is a chosen work. So what is the kind of work you'd want to do? So what we want to do with this essentially is to find the type of labor that aligns with your overall mission. So it's still something that you're good at and love to do, but it serves and allows you to achieve the why and the mission. So there's a few different ways of discovering this. You should do all of them just to be thorough. So the first one is easy. You can just revisit your worksheet from day 14 and look at the potential jobs, careers, etc. that you wrote at that point. Another is to revisit some of the exercises, such as the gun to your head one, also the instrument, for example. Another way is to think about your why and overall mission, and then brainstorm outwards from there. What are the different ways of achieving that mission? What could it look like? Again, be open and loose. You're not obligated to do any of these things, but you're just exploring right now. So brainstorm away. So if I was thinking, okay, I want to achieve a second golden age for Muslims. How do I do that? Okay, so I could do, you know, I could do courses. I could do education curriculum. I could do, what else could I do? I could do historical tours, tourism where we're going, seeing some of the Golden Age places. I could do a book. I could do a writing. So there's loads of things like this. These are all the different types of work I could do, right? I could, become like a lecturer or something. Um, I could do like videos and become a content creator. So there's loads of things that you can do in that sense. You can, and that's me just thinking literally off the top of my head. If I was to go a bit deeper, um, what else could I do? Okay, I could become an innovation consultant that helps Muslim companies to innovate, make better products. I could become a culture, a business culture expert and go into companies and help them to make their culture more knowledge seeking, etc., etc. I don't, so there's lots of different things randomly that you can think of. So that's why I'm saying first brainstorm all the different ways of achieving the mission, and then we can go and apply the framework. So eventually, we want to factor in the previous sections, but so you can think of your own spark, and then the people you want to serve, and figure out the kind of labor that will fall within it. But if it's blocking you, first of all, just do it individually, and then we can figure out when we're doing the overlaps and bringing it all together. So the main question you want to ask yourself here: name all the types of work you can do that achieves the mission, that serves the people, and it is aligned to your divine spark, because each stage takes into account the previous stage. A couple of things to note for your labor: it should be something ideally that excites you, something that you could do forever and it'll feel like play. It gives you energy and you can't wait to do the work because of how connected you are to the mission. The reason for this is that there's no retiring from working in the cause of Allah. Nuh alayhi salam strove in the way of Allah for centuries. Very few heeded his call, and even his own wife perished along the way. To retire is to give tacit approval to the status quo. Remember Otto von Bismarck and the creation of the senior citizen? Remember, retirement was something that was enforced upon us and is against our fitna, right? So we want to, continue striving, because if you're working in, striving for Allah's cause and doing good work, you're racking up good deeds the whole way. You're stacking and compounding. So those who run away and give up on God's work, we're not doing it for His sake. So we are useful people of value. We continue to serve until we no longer can. So that said, sometimes in life we get very focused on the here and now. We focus on the negatives about what we have, what opportunities are not available, etc. So what I found is what gives us a sense of appreciation and perspective is to think about how the world has changed. Right? Think about what came before. So the way of working and earning a living was completely different just 2 generations ago. So, for example, when I think back to my grandparents' generation, how did they make money, or what work did they do, right? What opportunities were available to them? So, I think sometimes we do take for granted the age that we live in, where everything is so connected and we have access to important knowledge, tools, and services, and it's all been democratized. So this is just a reminder that even though your circumstances may appear to be difficult right now, or you can't think of anything that would fit your mission, you can get a powerful sense of perspective when you realize just how many opportunities are actually available to us in the time we live in today. So let me give you an example of this. So there's a summary that really paints this picture well. So before, all you could do was you could connect with a few hundred or a few thousand people in your village or your town. But now you can connect with almost 8 billion people on the internet. Before, all you could do was collect and trade, trade resources in order to add value to the village that you're in, right? Some people might go and farm. Some people might go and go to the well and get water. And it was just very limited things that you could just trade and stuff. But now you can collect and trade ideas in order to add value just to one tiny corner of the internet. Who are your tribe? Who are you trying to serve? Before, it was limited to about 30 to 40 jobs that you could choose. But now, because of the scale of the internet, there are now unlimited options for you to add value to others in all sorts of ways. So before, you just had to do what your parents did. There was just family business or family trade, and you just continue to do that. And now, because of limited options, the best option to choose is what aligns with your divine spark, the one you're most obsessed by. At the end of your obsession, you'll find something that fits you perfectly and that can pay you handsomely, inshallah. So, no, now how amazing that. So hopefully that should reframe your mind into thinking about all the opportunity that actually is out there to achieve your mission, inshallah. Monetize. The secret to wealth is simple. Find a way to do more for others than anyone else does. Become more valuable, do more, give more, be more, serve more, and you'll have the opportunity to earn more. Turn your open. So very simple but profound. So monetize. What are the ways you can earn a living through your labor? So one of the hedgehog principles was what drives your economic engine. Ikigai also had what can you be paid for. So passion and joy is great, but we want to make our mission and God-given purpose full focus so we can live by it. At the same time, we need to make a living. Right? So Imam Sufyan al-Thawri said 1300 years ago, wealth is the weapon of the believer in this day and age. So imagine you, with sincerity, with focus, with all these things, without money, and how far can the project go or the mission go, versus you with passion, sincerity, focus, with money. The money is an amplifier if if it's used in the right way. So we're not saying that we need to like shy away from money, because sometimes when I speak to Muslims, we have sometimes a bit of a poverty mindset, or we think, oh no, it's not good to the money is all dunya centric, etc. And there's no problem with money at all, actually. It's just sometimes the way what we do with it. Right? So this is where I just want to get that clarified. So the ideal situation for us is to find a way to combine all of these. So we are making money through our service. So I'll give you an example here. So someone like Muhammad Hijab, whatever you may think of him, he is obviously a da'i, and he is obviously on YouTube. He's a YouTuber. He's pushing his ideas out, and getting paid for his work, right? So he is living and breathing dawah every single day, right? He's creating videos, doing debates, doing all sorts of things, right? I'm not sure if he's writing, but he's doing public speaking, and then he's getting paid through different means, right? So it might be sponsorships from organizations, it might be the sponsorships on videos, but the point of it is that he's figured out a way to, okay, this is important work. Allah's message needs to be spread. I'm good at public speaking. The people I want to serve are Muslims who need to come back to the deen a bit more, or non-Muslims who need to be invited. Then obviously he's good at public speaking and influence and all these things. What's his method? Method might be, you could say, YouTube videos. That's the labor that he does. And how does he monetize it? Well, through all these different sponsorships or whatever that he gets, or stipends and stuff. So it's not mandatory that we find this. So if you find that your purpose is something that's extremely hard to monetize, or if it's something small and personal that's limited to a small group of people, no problem. but we do still need to figure out what you will do for money. So this can ensure that you stay living by your purpose long term. Even if you find that you're still in your 9 to 5 job, it won't be as painful because you know that the purpose of the job is to fund your life, family, and for you to fulfill your purpose. So that job, all of a sudden, from going from something that you might have hated or resented, it begins to have meaning for you in a different way. Okay, this is just a means to earn, and my purpose is this X project that I do voluntarily or I do outside of work. So this reminds me of a great example that Sheikh Nasser al-Janga once gave. So this is what he said. He said that Dawood alayhi salam, was a prophet who was a laborer. He was a blacksmith who worked with his hands. He earned honest living. Often we feel there's a clash between earning an honest living and serving the deen. We need to stop presenting this idea that working is bad. If someone is honest and hardworking and able to turn their skills into halal income, that is praiseworthy. A businessman who is honest and hardworking will be raised with the righteous. Whoever gives a full refund to a customer, Allah will build a palace in paradise. Umar al-Khattab, the 10 years of his life he spent with the Messenger, وسلم, he used to work one full day from daybreak, 10 to 12 hours a day, then study the next day. So in each week he was working 3 to 4 days. Providing bread on the table is part of your deen. Look at Dawood alayhi salam. He's a prophet. He's more pious than any of us. He receives divine scripture, and his hands are blackened with soot, and his face is covered with smoke. It's really remarkable thing. Dawood, peace be upon him, is the epitome of gratitude. Will we learn to be people of gratitude, or will we complain because we have a job that puts a roof over our heads, that provides halal income? So it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that not everything is, about I want to set up, I want to become financially free. I want to have, $1 million project so I can actually do this and do that. What you might find, alhamdulillah, is that when you start on this path, barakah comes down, and inshallah, you will get there. But that, again, we need to correct our intentions, and this is just a stark reminder of the reality. What we're doing here, when we talk about monetization, is how can you ensure you're able to live by your purpose day in, day out, right? Because there's nothing more painful than, okay, now I know my purpose, but I can't afford to actually do it, and so we need to find a solution. So that means if you find to monetize your purpose is unlikely or a long way down the line, no problem. Remember, we are trying to realign our life in the best way. It may be that you make a few sideways or lateral or even backward moves to eventually end up exactly where you want to be. If you've got a big project in mind that requires a lot of funding, no problem, right? Because the point of it is that now it's like, this is not a nice to do. This has become a must do for you. This is like fulfillment of your purpose. You'll have to grow out your comfort zone and do what you need to do. But you need to figure it out long term. It's part of the challenge toward becoming a Khalifa and fulfilling your purpose. So, when you're thinking about how to monetize, you need to keep the main question in mind. How am I going to fund living by my purpose? So the reason for this is that you don't want to do random things to try and monetize your chosen labor if it's not one that has much monetary value. If your purpose is to work voluntary for a charity, can your day job or your spouse sustain you? It's absolutely fine to put that down if so. However, do think outside the box if you can. Often things are easier to monetize than you think. It just requires a little bit of creativity. For this particular module, what we are doing is mostly brainstorming and just writing out all the different ideas that come to mind. You'll be surprised just how many you can think of, especially when you realize that they are within your comfort zone, all within your area of interest, and all for a mission that you care deeply about. Let's look at an example. So, example here. So imagine if your mission was something like to inspire Muslims to travel like Ibn Battuta and explore more of the world to learn about different cultures. Okay. And then your ummah, or the people you want to serve, are Muslim professionals in the West, aged 25 to 40. So you can see I'm going quite specific, who are seeking richer, more authentic Islamic experiences. Great. Spark. So your spark would be, it might be that, okay, you love traveling, you love educating others, and you love new experiences. Great. So thinking about different, labor that you could do. You could do Islamic tours or Islamic tourism of places that Ibn Battuta travel to, for example. You can do content creation about cool places in the Muslim world that Muslims can travel to. You can travel consultant, you can arrange people's trips for them. You can arrange an exhibition in your hometown of Islamic travel places of interest. So You can say, that, or you can create a community and membership site, or no, a community of Muslim travelers that you know, curate and cultivate and you give value to, right? And then now, what you would so and then if I'm brainstorming more, how can I make money out of this, or how can I monetize this, or I can create a membership site for Muslim travelers to join and they get tips, discounts, hacks, etc. I can arrange high ticket honeymoons for Muslims, or, who are looking for that kind of thing. I can create Islamic guided tour to XYZ country. I can become an influencer. I can create content on YouTube. I can partner with travel brands. Blah blah blah. So these are just ideas. So this is me doing it at the top layer, as in just brainstorming. If I want to now take this to the next level, where I'm like, okay, I need to figure out my exact thing. What I would do is, okay, so that the mission can stay as it is. I might want to refine that, and then so that's quite clear as well, and the spark quite clear as well. So those three things are fine. The labor, what you would do is you'd just take one of these things. So, for example, it'd be Islamic tourism of places that even do the travel. Okay, great. What does that actually look like? So then you would take the monetization, and then you'd say, okay, let me now brainstorm all the ways to monetize Islamic tourism of places. Okay, what would that look like? Blah 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 blah. That's exactly how you would go. If you've done that brainstorm of that one thing and you've looked at all the ways to monetize it, which one way do you want to start with? If that's not the one and you want to do something else, content creation about cool places. Okay, great. How would I monetize content creation? Okay, how do I monetize a blog? Do I create a newsletter, paid newsletter? Do I create um, a YouTube channel? Do I create a TikTok account? Maybe I can partner with a filmmaker and do again, you get the idea about this. But the idea is that you only brainstorm, like you do like a top level brainstorm first, and then when you go and do it the second time around, you pick one thing, and then you brainstorm that. So so when you're thinking about how to monetize your labor, there's three directions you can take your thinking. So this will help you to expand your mind when it comes to the monetization side of things and thinking how to do it. So you can go upwards towards the big picture. You can also think downwards towards the specifics, or you can think sideways or lateral towards alternative. To give you an example, so let's say again, let's take this example, this Ibn Battuta example. So your mission is to inspire Muslims to travel like Ibn Battuta and explore more of the world to learn about different cultures. Okay, great. So your people are Muslim professionals in the West, and your spark is that you love traveling, educating, and new experiences. Great. Think of labor. You could do courses, you could do curriculums, exhibitions, content, community consultancy, and you can do guided tourism. So let's take the guided tourism example. So you take one only, so we've taken that one. To apply this method to offer Islamic tourism for Muslims, or tourism for Muslims, whatever. How do you make this exciting, fun, wow, and lucrative? First of all, let's think upwards. What is the big picture? What are we trying to achieve with an Islamic tour, right? So let's say what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make halal family entertainment with fun, food, history, and education. So that's like top level kind of thinking. Okay, that's what a Islamic tour would have to incorporate these kind of elements. Great. Now let's think laterally. What's other ways you can offer halal family entertainment that educates and incorporates those other elements? You might think, okay, I want to create or host a global village where you can travel around the Muslim world whilst you're still in the city. So, Dubai had this um, global village thing where in one tent there is all the different things about Tunisia, and then another tent is all the different things about Morocco, and another tent is all the things about Saudi Arabia, and etc. etc. So you could have something like that where different stalls are represent different countries, and you're teaching people, and that's all in your own hometown. Or you can do things. What else could you do? You could do a gamified Islamic virtual tour with prizes and competition. So you can make it all online and have a quiz and show people around. After now, we're going to go all the way to this place, and so well, here's some of the key things to note. It happened on this date, and this is one amazing thing about this country. Blah blah blah. So again, what else can you do? Keep listing alternatives. So what all the other ways of achieving this objective of halal family entertainment with fun, food, history, and education. So, or we can think downwards. So we think, okay, what are the specifics of an Islamic tour? So let's say it's food, there's going to be walking, and there's going to be history, right? So what we can do is that we can focus actually on one of them. We can, okay, you know what? Let's take food. So how do we really dive deep into the food part of it? So let's say we organized an Islamic food tasting tour where there's where you could do this in two ways. You could go to these countries themselves. You can go to India or Malaysia or Spain and teach people about the Islamic food culture around the different restaurants and street food vendors in those countries. Or again, like the exhibition idea, you can have like a village, like a global village type thing, where all the world foods are in that one place, and people sign up, and you have chefs from these countries, and there's a whole Islamic theme. But again, you can see what I've just done is that I've taken that one idea, and there's so many different ideas that are sprouted out of it. And this is the beauty of it, that there's like this is the thing, ideas are abundant, right? That's why, if someone says to me, I've got an amazing idea about art, you have to sign an NDA. Like, it's not that ideas aren't that deep. It's about execution, right? So we because we can think of ideas all day long, and that's what I'm trying to get you to think here. That when you think of your um mission, and then when you think about your labor, you don't have to think um stuck towards just traditional careers. Oh no, because remember we want to incorporate all your spark careers and that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, so this is just an idea, just an example of showing how an idea can sprout in many different ways. So so this is the what it looks like overall. Um, and one thing I want to remind you here is that we talked about sustenance and monetization, all that kind of stuff. But this is a great quote over Ibn al-Khattab. He said, I looked at all different types of sustenance, but I did not find a better sustenance than patience. So it's just a reminder that whatever you choose to do, it will take time. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be able to quit your job overnight. You have to work towards it, and this is a journey. This is a journey, and it's a very fulfilling and happy and peaceful journey once you get there. But it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and struggle along the way, and so you just need to prepare for that, inshallah. So the action item is to complete worksheet 23 and brainstorm all the different elements of this framework. So you get closer and closer and closer, or hopefully you find out, okay, this is what my work is going to be. And to end, I'm going to say Khalil Gibran said, work is love made visible. And so through this framework, hopefully you can see how that is possible. So that is it for this one, and I'll see you on the next one.